So you may have noticed in part one this morning that I didn't give a ton of examples, or like specific examples of the virtue of fortitude. Not even the example of Frodo Baggins, right? I will take the ring to Mordor, though I do not know the way, right? I specifically didn't do that because I knew we were going to have the living example, right? So that we can experience for ourselves that all of these concepts and definitions and ways to explore the virtue of fortitude, they're real. Right? If we're just listening along to Randy's story, right? We probably didn't think about it going along the way. It was like, oh, that was the obstacle. Oh, that was the difficulty. Oh, that was a moment of this or that. We probably weren't thinking those things, but we could hear the notes resonating, right? That we had that there was so many things that Randy was going through in all of his journey thus far, right? There are still moments, right, for the virtue of fortitude to come alive in him. Right, but there's so many ways that it's like, okay, we can recognize the virtue of fortitude is alive and active in this place, right? What's the particular evil to be avoided, right? Pornography, right? And it's a really difficult evil to avoid because it's so easy, right, to get it, especially once the internet was introduced, which is just a funny thing for me to think about as a millennial, right? Yeah, that's right. I remember those AOL discs that came in the Cheerios boxes, right? Right, but yet because it's so easy, and it's even easier now, right? Pornography is in our pockets. It's right here, right? It's so easy for pornography to find its way into our lives. And so it's really hard to avoid, right? And so there's already that call to fortitude of a great evil to avoid. There's also so many great goods that were opened up for Randy that would have been difficult to pursue, right? Especially the good of being healed of those father wounds, right? The good of seeking reconciliation and renewal with Mary, his wife, right? The good of not just being free from pornography, right? But being free for the new life that the Lord would have in store for him, right? There were all these great goods, but they're difficult to pursue, right? Because of our own woundedness, right? Our wounds are painful, right? We don't want to move when we're hurt. Right? We don't want to keep going after something when we're hurt, right? And to know like the great trust that is broken when wives find out about their husband's pornography use, right? It's basically the same experience as if we were to actually go and commit adultery. That's a wife's experience of that betrayal, of that broken trust, right? And to overcome that is a difficult good to pursue with that obstacle there. Right, to pursue the good of freedom from pornography, knowing there's an enemy that wants to keep us bound, right? To knowing that there's still this ease to fall back into it, knowing the weakness that is introduced into our minds, right? Through such a prolonged use of this, right? That there is an addiction dynamic that forms within the mind through so much use of pornography. But to be free from that and to be free for a fullness of life. Right? That's not bound up within a magazine or in a screen or whatever it is, but there's a great freedom for so much more. And all of the ways that the Lord came into Randy's life to help him and to guide him and to support him and to equip him, right? To know that he's not alone, whether it was through some direct things from the Lord himself or through his wife or through those brothers that he was able to find, right? All of these notes that I talked about earlier this morning, right? It's real. It's alive. Right? Randy's experienced it, continues to experience it, and thank you so much for sharing it. And again, it's already mentioned, it's an act of fortitude to get up and be vulnerable. Right? Vulnerability it's like to share a story like this in front of a group of 60 men. It's a great good, right? To open up that space for men who might not have experienced an openness in that particular space before, but there's the difficulty of I've got to be vulnerable, right? And vulnerable. That's an icky word for men, right? but vulnerability, when it's actually lived in, when it's actually, it brings an authenticity and an open space for so much more to happen. And so just to witness that act of fortitude, not only to hear the story of fortitude that Randy's been living, but to witness the act of fortitude, and it can inspire our hearts and help lead us into taking that step that we don't want to take. But it's just that one step. But something Randy mentioned to help set some of these things in context, right? Not only is, yes, the virtue of fortitude is real, it's alive, right? All of these concepts and definitions, they come to life within us. Randy also mentioned that term recklessness, right? He didn't want to be reckless about this particular moment of sharing, right? To keep it within us men, right? And to all this sort of stuff. But it may be to maybe also mention, to realize a different dynamic of all virtues, right? Including the virtue of fortitude, is that this comes from St. Thomas Aquinas, which is also from Aristotle, that the virtue is found in the mean. The virtue is found in the middle, right? So you think about math, statistics, right? All the way back to school like that, right? The mean, the average, the mean is in the middle, right? You have the one end, you have the other end, but the mean is in the middle. And that's where virtue is found. Right, so virtue is not found in one extreme or the other extreme, but virtue is found particularly in the middle. So to look at the virtue of fortitude, right? If fortitude is found in the middle, then there are a couple of extremes that we might go to, right? Especially as Randy opens up this place for us. Okay, yes, pornography is a Goliath in my life. Therefore, I need to go after this Goliath, and I need to do everything that I possibly can to overcome this on my own power. Okay, now this might actually be going towards one particular extreme in this dynamic, which would be the extreme of recklessness. And that's what St. Thomas would describe it as, is that the one end of an extreme would be recklessness, right? To basically throw everything we've got at it to the point of like we're actually no longer present there. Right? It's actually no longer like it's trying to establish something in our lives. It's just focused on an object, or it's focused on some particular circumstance, but it's not really staying focused on renewing myself. Or it's not actually focused on Jesus Christ himself, but it becomes all about the thing. Right? And Randy was using the example from Jesus' parables, right? If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. Right? It's a bit of an extreme example. That's the one that I particularly think of that's related to that is a priest he was preaching to college students one time, and based on this parable, he says it's like, if your TV causes you to sin, shoot it. A couple of weeks later, this priest got a video from these college students. He was preaching in Texas, just to set it in context. He said, it's like, Father, you told us if our TV causes us to sin, shoot it. Cuts out to these guys with a shotgun and their TV on the other end of the time, and they shot their TV. Right. Which we could have been a bit, we could think of, it's funny, like, and it's actually kind of like fun. It's like, oh yeah, I should probably, like, that's kind of fun. I kind of want to do that, right? But how many of us would say, it's like, okay, if your phone causes you to sin, shoot it. Right? If I were to shoot my phone, I would lose so much more than just an opening into, because it's like literally I help control my diabetes on my phone, right? You can see how my blood sugar is a little bit elevated right now, right? Right? I could see that. It's like, not only is it an easy access to pornography and so much other vice that's out there, but our phones are good tools, right? They can be used for good. So to just go and shoot my phone would be an act of recklessness, right? It would be going too far in the pursuit of a good. Right? I would have gone beyond what was truly necessary or what was truly good in order to obtain a good or to avoid an evil. Right? That's what recklessness would be. It's going too far. That's why when we get in those arguments of like, how come all of our hands are still here when Jesus tells us to cut them off and throw it away? Jesus is using hyperbole in this particular instance of saying, yes, we might need to do something extreme. It probably isn't going to have to go to this far. But Jesus is trying to help us to understand, yes, it's going to take an effort. It's going to take some actions that we might not initially think are right or good, like installing accountability software on our phones and on our computers, which can slow them down, which can bug them down and all this sort of stuff, right? But that's getting into the degree of, okay, that's not too reckless, but this is starting to be something in the direction that's getting more extreme. Right? So we don't want to go to that one extreme of recklessness. Right? But on the other side, there's the other end of the extreme of saying it's like, yeah, that's a good, but there's only so much I can do about it, and so maybe there's a little bit of something that I could do, and it's just like, maybe I'll just find a little bit away here, a little bit away there. With that kind of attitude or that kind of approach, what St. Thomas Aquinas would call this is the word of the day, right? Pusillanimity. Pusillanimity. Pusillanimity is how this would literally be translated is small-souledness. Small-souledness. Like our souls are small. Like it's like we've come before this great good, but we think that the obstacle or the difficulty is too great for us, and so we pull in from that. We'll recognize that, but we start to think, oh, there's only so much I can do. Oh, I can only do a little bit. There's only so far I could go, so I'm only going to do this much. Right? It's a small-souledness, pusillanimity, right? Right? And that would be the other end of the extreme. Right? That we're not acting far enough to pursue that good. We've recognized it as a good. We know that there's a difficulty there, but we're not actually going after it. Which in this context of pornography, a lot of us could say, it's just too strong. It's just too easy to go after. It's just been such a part of my life that, no, there's no way that this is going to be out of my life. Yeah, it would be great if I could be free from it, or even if I could just watch it less often, right? But it's like, I can't really actually overcome this, even though I know it would be right, I know it would be good, but I can't actually overcome this. This would be small-souledness. Because the virtue of fortitude is going to say, it's like, yes, I can do all things, I have the strength of God on my side. I can pursue this. I don't have to go to the other extreme at the same time, but I can actually go after this. This is actually possible for me with the strength of God. And this comes with whatever example of fortitude that we want to have within our lives, right? It doesn't have to be the example of overcoming pornography, but it can be other aspects of our lives too. Right? Whether we've got career choices to make in front of us or other life choices to make in front of us. Or it can just be the simple thing of, do I actually want to join a small group? Maybe not necessarily the Hope for Purity small group, though that might be the small group that we're being invited to, right? But actually, do I actually want to join a small group? Do I actually want to share something about my heart with a brother? Do I actually want to take a little step in vulnerability, right? You could have the one extreme of, here's everything, right? Okay, that's too far, right? We don't have to be all vulnerable with all the persons all the time, right? But then there's also the other extreme of, no, it's like vulnerability, it's just too weird, it's just too awkward. It's like, maybe I'll say just like, okay, I like cheese, and that's about it. It's just something I like, it's something about me. So it's like, it's not even going in that particular direction, but to have that virtue of like, okay, I can actually share something with my brothers. Like I can share something that's a struggle for me. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be the struggle of pornography or just something that's difficult for me, or a great joy that I have in my life too, something that I'm really excited about. And I can actually share that with a brother. Even that can be an act of fortitude. And so we don't want to go to one end of the extreme or the other, right? To even bring it back to that example of Chris Sharma at the start, like I said at the beginning, was that an act of courage, right? So my argumentation was, once we lay all of this out there, no. It's not, right? Because what's the good that he's pursuing? Climbing a rock. Literally, yeah, it's a really hard climb. It's a really difficult time. It takes a lot of technical skill to be able to make this climb. But the good that he's pursuing is he's climbing a rock. Right? Is that actually a good that is meant to be pursued? Right? Maybe yes, maybe no, but it would be a very low good, right? But then at the same time, right, is the effort that's required to obtain this good, because it's a difficult good, is the effort that's obtained this good within reason. I mean, we didn't see how many times he had to fall, but he was falling for 2 weeks into the ocean, right, to do that, right? And so I would actually clarify something that the things that he's doing would go in the direction of recklessness. Right? There are some virtuous things that are happening within there. It's to be able to pursue strength and to pursue the technical skill and things like that. But I would say this is more reckless than it is courageous. That makes sense? Yeah. Because there is a mean to be found, right? There is the virtue is found in the mean. Virtue is found in the middle, right? So that we can pursue it with the strength that comes from God, but that we can also pursue great things. This would be the last thing that I would want to share this morning, is that one of the sub-virtues, right, all these main virtues have sub-virtues to them. One of the sub-virtues of fortitude is magnanimity, great-souledness, magnanimity. Right, to realize I am so much more than I think of myself. I am so much more than I think of myself, because I'm a beloved son of the Father, because he has given me the gift of his Holy Spirit, and that Holy Spirit gives me that gift of fortitude to be able to pursue the things of God with the strength that comes from God. And so then I want to have that great souledness, that magnanimity to say, yes, I can do great things. And I can do them in a way that doesn't overextend myself and that doesn't end up hurting me or causing damage around me. Right? But I can pursue these great things so that I can live in the freedom of the sons of God. And that's the mentality to receive and to pray for and to enter into as we seek to cultivate and to build up this virtue of fortitude, is to have this disposition of magnanimity, this great souledness. I can pursue great things, and I can receive and obtain great things because my Father pours out his Spirit into me, and he gives me this gift of fortitude to be able to pursue and receive the things of God with the strength that comes from God. So now we're going to move in the direction of God himself as we move into a time of prayer.
So I invite you to take out your journals and a pen. And okay, it's the guitar. That answers that question. And we're going to make journaling real simple today. We'll bring it up to a different level at a different time. But on one page, a blank page, I want you to write, and you pick which member of the Trinity you want to write to, but dear God, or dear Father, dear Jesus, dear Holy Spirit. Top of the page. That's it. Let's turn to the next page then. And if you remember how to spell your name, for me it's Mark, write Dear Mark. The idea being, God can speak to you through your thoughts. So after you pour out your heart to him and just share with him whatever you want to share, know that he wants to share with you. And that second page might be more difficult, but that's okay. So we just invite you to this time of prayer. I'm going to play some quiet music, and we'll have some discussion afterwards, but you don't have to share. Certainly you don't have to share everything, and won't have time to, but you'll be able to share a little bit. Check.
We fall down, we lay our crowns at the feet of Jesus. The greatness of his mercy and love at the feet of Jesus. And we cry, holy, holy, holy. And holy, holy, holy. And we cry, holy, holy, holy is the Lamb. We fall down, we lay our crowns at the feet of Jesus. The greatness of his mercy and love at the feet of Jesus. And we cry, holy, holy, holy. Yes, we cry, holy, holy, holy. We cry, holy, holy, holy is the Lamb. Perhaps the crown that you need to lay down right now is this thought that I can't journal. I don't journal. And God is saying, yeah, you can. And I just invite you to go to that second page if you haven't been there yet. Dear son, here's what I have to share with you. We'll take about one more minute.
So those table leaders who are with you, just invite them to just begin the conversation just by sharing something short, maybe 1 minute, and then let's give every man an opportunity to share, even if you don't have to, right? So at least 1 minute each, and let's see where that takes us.